final speaker today is William Buster, the CEO of the New Hanover Community Endowment. This is the third year in a row we've gotten an update from the endowment at this Power Breakfast. We plan to keep inviting them back every year to keep checking on the more than $1.3 billion it received from the sale of New Hanover Regional Medical Center. William started as the endowment's first CEO on March 1st last year. We wanted to give him some time to settle in, so we did not ask him to appear on the stage at his first Power Breakfast until 2 days later on March 3rd. At the time, he still hadn't unpacked a lot of the clothing from his car. Now that William's had a good year and a half leading the endowment, we wanted to invite him back for some updates. He will share his perspective first, and then Vicki will come back on stage for some questions. Please join me in welcoming William to the stage.
Thank you. So it's not fair that I have to come up here last after all this great news, but I first want to say that I am excited and proud to be a part of what's happening here, from Project Grace to the school system to our business community. I am ecstatic, and I believe that we are on the right track to make great strides in our community. Now, before I go deeper, I want to share a couple of things about myself. So, who sent you? Now, before I tell you why I asked that question, I want to tell you a little bit about who actually sent me, because I believe it's important that you understand the totality of who a person is so you can understand what they're trying to do. So, who sent me? My grandma Mary, who taught me tenacity. She was a farmer in Rowan County, and she taught me that you can do anything that you put your mind to. She also taught me that you should speak and work on behalf of folks who sometimes can't do that for themselves. My mother, Gladys, in Kannapolis, who worked in Cannon Mills for 40 years. She taught me love and compassion, and she taught me to always treat everyone the same, no matter where they come from. And in my professional career, I have mentors, people like a Dr. Otis Johnson. Dr. Johnson was the former mayor of Savannah, but he was also the board chair of an organization I worked with for several years. And when Dr. Johnson would come into the boardroom and begin the meetings, he would always ask this question: do we all know why we're here? Do we know who we're here to represent and who we're here to help? And then he would ask the question of each and every person, because he wanted to be clear that we were there representing someone and representing people from across the Southeast. I also learned a lot from the hundreds of individuals and the hundreds of organizations that I've had the opportunity to work with over my 20 years. I've been blessed. During that time, I was able to kind of invest over $1 billion in all those organizations. But what I learned from those folks was that it's important that you stay grounded in what you're trying to do. These people were passionate about their communities. These people were passionate about the things that they were trying to do. But ultimately, they believed that it was important to work together on a couple of things, on all the things that they were doing. Now, why do I ask that question, who sent you? From my professional perspective, it informs a few things about what I believe is happening. When I ask you who sent you, it helps me to understand if you understand that you represent someone, that someone has sent you on their behalf because they can't be there. It's important for me to understand in our work, in the strategic philanthropy, that because we are investing in folks who oftentimes I may not ever see, I have to be assured that you are representing someone and they know that you're representing them. It's important that when we better understand why it is that we share that information, that it ultimately leads to the transformation that we're talking about. Because transformation is connected to understanding where you are, who you're working on behalf, and where you're trying to go. Now, that's why I'm here this morning, to talk to you a little bit about transformation. Now, the endowment exists for that express purpose. When I was hired, the board talked to me constantly about, we want to see generational change. We want to see transformation. And transformation means different things for different people. For one group, it may mean that we transform and have every child be able to read on grade level. For another group, it could mean that every person has access to health care. So, how do you get to understand what the transformation is that you're trying to create? Now, transformation, from my perspective, has three main components. Networks. If you've had any kind of conversation with me over 10 minutes, you're going to hear me talk about networks and relationships. Why is that important? Sustainable change does not happen unless there is connected people to connected organizations, to connected institutions. Change does not happen unless everybody understands in working in process of working towards a common goal. Networks also have to be vertical. And what I mean by that, they have to be integrated from the grassroots to the grass tops and everything in between. So transformation is the first component. The next component is strategic risk. I use those words intentionally. Strategic risk means that you understand all aspects of what you're trying to achieve. You understand the resources that are needed. You understand the relationships that it's going to take. You understand ultimately also what you're trying to achieve. But you also understand what's at risk, what's at stake. Now, if you understand all of those things, you can make an intentional choice about the direction that you're trying to go. Strategic risk. And then the third component is collective action. Collective action means that we all understand where we're going. We've had the conversation. We know that we're headed towards the horizon. But it's also indicative that you understand that collective action requires constant communication. The lines of communication have to remain open, because every time you take a step, I can guarantee you, every time you take a step, that somebody's going to step left and somebody's going to step right. We always have to check back into the center to understand where we're going. So transformation, the components that are important for transformation from my perspective are networks, collective action, and strategic risk. Now, before I share a little bit more of why I'm up here, I first have to acknowledge a few folks. I am not here, and the endowment is not here, unless the county commission, both past and present, supported the creation and the endowment. I've told board members that the way this endowment was created is one of the most innovative things that I've seen in my career. I can guarantee you that the way we are, how we are, the amount of assets that we have don't exist anywhere else in this country in the field of philanthropy. I can guarantee you that. So I give thanks to the county commissioner and also to the county, the folks that work for the county. Chris and his team have been tremendously supportive of us. And I also give thanks and a shout out to the Novant Health Board and those folks. They've reached out, they've asked me what I've needed, they've asked me how can we partner together. So it's important that we all recognize that again, those networks, those relationships have helped create the change that we're about to make. The change that we're about to make. I'm excited to share a couple of things with you this morning. Before I share that, I first want to say that on Monday, you'll get all this information. You'll learn who the organizations are. You'll learn what their projects are. But I'm here to tell you this morning that our board has made commitments of the grants over 2023 and beyond for the next 3 years. I'm excited to tell you that we have we're going to be investing in 19 strategic grants. What are those? Those are grants that are multi-year. This is our first time that we're trying, well, we're only a year and a half old. So multi-year is brand new for us. So 19 strategic grants and then 14 responsive grants. Responsive grants for us are those grants that are 1 year, non-renewable, and it's us responding to a request that you have. With our strategic grants, we are intentional, we know what we're trying to achieve, and we're inviting you to come along with us as we move this work forward. Now, this is the exciting part. Those 19 grants and those 14 grants, those 33 grants, over the next 3 years, is going to elicit $53 million into this community. I can't express to you how proud I am that in such a short period of time, we've stood this thing up and we're putting resources back into the community. And this is only the beginning. Trust me, this is only the beginning. Now, some of you are going to not like the response that you get because of the grants that we've awarded. But when I say no, when the endowment says no, it means not now. I believe that if you're in alignment with the work that we're trying to achieve, if you are understand where we're trying to go and we have common goals, we can figure out where we're going together. So no means not now. What else am I excited about moving forward is the opportunity for our staff. We're building out our staff, and I'm excited because our staff is going to be integrated into this field of nonprofits and organizations working on behalf of our community. So when you see no, that means now it's time for the different conversation. So continue to have conversations with the folks that are on our team, and I trust you, trust me, that if you keep talking, if you keep asking questions, if you keep pushing, we'll have the opportunity to work together. Now, it's important that I also share a couple of other things about what's coming forward in 2024. Our hope is that as we expand and continue to support organizations, we can get into more of a sequence of rapid response. We've had 2 grant cycles, and they were both at the end of the year, and trust me, we didn't like doing it that way. However, it's the start. So moving forward, our hope is that if you have a conversation with us in January, you are not going to have to wait until December before you understand whether or not we're going to invest in you. So, as Charles asked you, I'm asking for continued patience. But trust us, we're going to put the resources out into this community. So, what I'm excited about to be able to tell you now, as I sit down and we're going to have this conversation, is now I'll add that when I say who sent me, I hope I can say, and trust that I can say, that you all have sent me. So thank you for the opportunity to share a few words, and I think we're going to have the. Well, we have an update about that, but thank you. Okay.
You're off the hook. You can go grab a seat. You're off the hook.
Oh, I'm off the hook.
To borrow, to extend the sports analogies, I think we have effectively run out the clock on the Power Breakfast for the year. I did want to ask William a couple more questions about the endowment and what's coming up for next week, but there was too much news that was announced here today, and so we ran a little long, and we want to make sure that you have time to get back to work to continue to make more news that we will cover and go about your day. So I pledge to you, and I'll put William on the hook now, that we'll have more in-depth coverage about the announcements of the grants on Monday, but also some more conversations too about what this means and what the change in strategy and focus for how the endowment's going to continue approaching these grants and the strategic grants and what that means for the community. So with that, I just want to thank you all for coming today. I want to thank all of our speakers for giving us updates on these large community projects. One housekeeping note, don't forget on your table, this is your parking voucher, so please be sure to grab your Highland Roofing cards with you before you leave. Have a great rest of the year, and thank you for making it another successful one for us on our Power Breakfast series.